You know, it's no secret that Mighty Number 9 was built on the framework established by Mega Man and refined over 30 years of releases. That's a lot of time for us to refine the level design of Mega Man style games. And coupled with Keiji Inufune's association with both Mega Man and Mighty Number 9, it's hard not to carry certain expectations of quality in level design. So Mighty Number 9 generally toes the line with an intro stage, 8 robot master stages, a few Wily-type endgame stages, and if you can believe it, a stealth stage featuring Call, Beck's female robot companion whom we know nothing about, and whose lack of personality puts a 2x4 to shame.
New tips are added as the game progresses. Be sure to check back and view them regularly.
In this third installment, we're going to see how Mighty Number 9's level design is of equal quality to its many mechanics. By that I mean unpolished, unbalanced, uninspired, and audaciously contrarian to both common sense and game design logic. If you haven't seen our videos on controls and boss weapons in Mighty Number 9, you can check them out here. They're not required viewing if you haven't seen them already, but they do set a nice backdrop to the discussion. Instead of a level-by-level analysis, in which case we'd only be repeating the same glaring design flaws that are common to many stages, let's look at the level design flaws themselves. Here are just a couple of designs that are common to most or all levels. Instant death traps, blind leaps into instant death traps, the slowest death trap ever devised, untelegraphed damage, visuals that get in the way of playing safely, an E-tank system that provides health refills only when you don't want them and never when you do, and mechanics that are underused, underexplained, or both. So let's consider this a best of for bad game design, not a comprehensive listing, otherwise we'd be here all night. Instant death traps and platformers used to go hand in hand back in the earlier generations of gaming, mainly as a way to gate the player's progression and or artificially extend the length of a game. A run of Contra for the NES can be as short as 15 minutes if you don't get hit, but the game's extreme difficulty may have had you playing it for months. Or you might spend hours trying to beat Ninja Gaiden, only to be defeated by the knife-throwing scum weasel that throws knives at you while his hawk friend woodpeckers you into oblivion.
What the fuck?
Or how about jumping over a pit when an enemy suddenly jumps out of it, perfectly and conveniently positioned to stun you and send you down into the pit. It's not that level design choices like these are inherently bad, although there is an argument for that. But if they aren't appropriately telegraphed, signposted, or otherwise introduced to the player in advance, then they frustrate the player because they seem to come out of left field. But luckily for us, the gaming industry has taken great strides since those days, and developers have learned a lot about how to design enjoyable experiences. Developers today can rely less on artificial trial and error challenges. We have much better tools for developing games and almost limitless storage capacity for doing so. So we don't need to make games so hard that completing 5 or 6 levels could take weeks for the average player. So you know, it's a real shame that Mighty Number 9's level design is so primitive, abundant with the trappings of games designed decades before it. It's so severe at times that Mighty feels like it's trying to discourage you from wringing any enjoyment out of it whatsoever. I mean it. This is a game that not only shouldn't be played, it feels like it doesn't even want to be played by anyone. That attitude is the subtext that bleeds through Mighty's levels at almost every opportunity. Let's look at instant death first.
With all due caution. Impossible. Nick is one of my most resilient designs.
We're going to use 2 specific stages here as examples, the mines and the highway. The mines are littered with purple instant death spikes, and they're applied liberally. They're even in places where their presence serves no intelligent game design purpose, or where an instant death would feel frustratingly unfair. The highway is basically an ocean of instant death with islands of safety, and getting hit in the air will stun you, and often means that death is imminent. Add in these flying enemies that follow you wherever you go, and infinitely spawn these little minions just over your head, and what should be a simple jump to the next car becomes a huge nuisance. And how about this section, where the boss will destroy cars in a specific sequence, giving you mere seconds to react and adapt to this new mechanic before you die. This is a great example of a failure to signpost. In other words, most of your deaths from this stage are going to be because of trial and error, not because of a lack of skill. Of course, you can avoid death in this stage if you're capable of precognition. Otherwise, you might just feel like you're slamming your head against a wall and progressing by inches. Are you bored of instant death? How about slow death? Here's the slowest death trap ever devised. In the final stage, once you step on this elevator, enemies will keep spawning all around you as you descend. Once you get to the end, there is a path to the right, but there's no immediate danger. But if you don't move quickly enough, or you want to check for potential secrets before you leave, you'll be pretty surprised when the elevator falls away and carries you to your death. Now, a falling platform by itself isn't the end of the world, but once it starts to fall, you can no longer dash into this passage, meaning you have no choice. You have to kill yourself. Although in the game's defense, I will say that having these enemies spawn on the left side here is a really good incentive for the player to stick to the right side. These blocks are just in the way here, and if they weren't there, it'd be really easy to do. Okay. The elevator's come to a complete stop. Okay. Can we... Is Is this block perfectly positioned to prevent you from getting through? Oh my god. This happened to me my first time here, and in my defense, this is the first and only time that such an elevator mechanic is used in Mighty Number 9. And hey, this is just my personal experience, but I thought that elevators go both up and down, so I thought it was a relatively safe assumption that this elevator isn't just a single-use item. I mean, who designed this elevator to fall away when it reaches the bottom floor? That's ridiculous. Long, luxurious ride down an elevator shaft. Wonder where this elevator goes when it falls away. And who in the world would purchase such an elevator, knowing it's limited to a single use? All I'm saying is it's fiscally irresponsible to do such a thing. You could be putting that money into a Roth IRA instead. The important takeaway here is, again, signposting. There is a complete failure to provide some sort of suitable mechanical context to nudge the player's expectation one way or the other. In other words, it feels like it's out of left field. And the only way to learn that this elevator will fall is to see it happen. And if you spend a few extra seconds dashing around, you're going to go with it. These examples are just the most egregious that I could find, but there are plenty more within every other level in the game. The bottom line is that Mighty Number 9 doesn't really explain itself well enough for you to understand its mechanics. This basically translates into a lot of cheap deaths, blind jumps that sometimes end in spikes, and plenty of segments where trial and error is really your only option, because until that point, you can't really know what the developers have intended you to do. Next up, even more underexplained and underused mechanics, and how level design generally clashes with these mechanics. We'll also talk about the game's visuals and visual quality. Those videos should be out sooner than later, so we'll just skip the outro for today. I also want to give very special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters: Alchemic, Sea Bomber, David Lopez, Preston Turner, Matthew Lopez, and Brian Feeney. I love you guys. Take that however you want. I mean, I guess there's no wrong way to take it, but you know, don't take it the wrong way. Take it just take it the right way. Anyway, thank you, patrons. We couldn't do this without you. And thanks to everyone out there for watching Game Soup.